There's been a new bounce patch, so I'd like to go back over everything, go back over the tier list, and sort of analyse what this means for each Pokemon. This is only a predicted tier list, so don't take what I say here for fact, just know this is my predictions for what this will mean for every Pokemon in the new season. I've got everything here that was changed. I don't know why Armourouge is here already. Clefable is still a defender apparently, but we're just going to run with it. Starting off, I'd like to talk about Gengar. He has finally been buffed. He was over here in his own tier because he was god-awful for the lower tiers of the game. Forgot to mention, this tier list is for the lower tiers of the game, like Ultra and below. It still applies for the most part for higher tiers, but just know this is like more of a solo queue tier list or a lower tier list. So Gengar, I would say these buffs, I'll bring them up now. Yeah, right here. Dream Eater got buffed, Hex got buffed, Unite move got buffed. The cooldown's a lot better for the Unite move. Hex is now pretty good again, like the cooldown is no longer just really bad for how much damage you're doing. Dream Eater now matters less if you miss it because the cooldown's better. So I would say this bumps Gengar up to B. I'd say this makes him pretty average now in terms of against other speedsters. Speedsters in general just aren't good in solo queue because as soon as you get a level disadvantage, it's kind of just over for you. But don't get me wrong, a lot of these Pokemon are very successful. You can still run them. The only ones I would say not to run are C tier and below, either because these ones are too hard for lower skilled players, or they just aren't really great at all. We're not going to talk about these two, they're just kind of really bad. But we can finally get rid of the Gengar tier, because Gengar no longer has his own tier. Pikachu, I've heard a lot of people talking about this already, because in my last tier list, I believe he was up here in A+, and he's got another buff. I would say this does not send him over the break point to S, but I feel like he's still really good. So maybe if there was like an A++, it would probably be there. But I don't quite think it's going to be absolutely overpowered. I could be wrong, of course, this is only predictions. But I don't think it's going to be that good. Sylveon, if I remember correctly, got a lot bigger. It's like a rework for Hyper Voice. Hyper Voice is a lot bigger, but it does less damage. And I think there was something with Draining Kiss as well, which should be... Yep, right here. You get a lot more healing from Draining Kiss. Also, Baby Doll Eyes is now a sure hit. So I would say, with it being an A before, I'm going to say it stays about the same. I don't quite think it's as good as some of these. So I'm going to keep it where it is for now. Obviously, I could be wrong. But I don't think this is going to be amazing for Sylveon. Ceruledge was an A for my last tier list, but as time went on, we sort of realised Ceruledge should be an A+, and I don't think that these nerfs are going to do anything to Ceruledge. I feel like he's probably still going to stay the exact same in a very good pick for your solo queue or lower tier games. I will mention I'm going to go over briefly at the end anything that I feel like has changed for some of these Pokemon. So once I've done everything that has been changed, I'm going to go back and make changes to what has happened since I made my last tier list. So with Zacian, the EX tag is disappearing now. EXs are no longer going to be EXs, and so the devs are trying to bring all the EXs more in line with everything else in the game. So with Zacian being an A+, yeah, I don't think this is going to be a massive change. I feel like it's still going to be very good, but of course the nerfs were necessary to make sure it's no longer overpowered. But of course the nerfs were necessary to bring it more in line with the rest of the Pokemon. Blaziken was in A+ for the last tier list. Fire Punch got a nerf, and the crit rate also got a nerf. I really don't think this is going to change Blaziken at all. It's still very good. I would have changed Overheat if anything, but again, Blaziken is amazing. If you want to learn how to play Blaziken, I made a video. It'll probably be in the tags at the top of the screen now. Blaziken's just an overall great all-rounder. You probably should pick him up. Buzzwole got a rework to the leech life. The cooldown is down by 3 seconds, which is quite a lot, but the healing was also brought down, and so it's more of a rework if anything. But I believe, yeah, Smackdown also got a buff, and so Buzzwole was in A for my last tier list, and I don't really think that's going to change much. Leech Life will become more viable. Of course, it was probably the better build at the time, but Buzzwole wasn't getting much play, which is understandable. So I feel like A tier is probably still about the same. Solo Q, he's very good. If you can play a good Buzzwole, Buzzwole is very good. Mimikyu was in A+ before, and it's not getting changed because they buffed him. Trick Room is now better, which is understandable because it was pretty bad, and the Shadow Sneak, Shadow Claw build was pretty much the only one you would ever run, so pretty good changes for this Pokemon. Ho-Oh, if I made a tier list in Shadow Flame, would probably be in A, but over time, as we've learned, it's quite hard to make use out of it in Solo Q. I can't speak. Over time, we've learned that it's hard to make use out of it in Solo Q. You try and use it on a team, and then you res someone, and they're just clueless because they just weren't really looking at the game because they're dead, and so they just die again, and then you wasted your Unite. And he also just got a nerf, again, to bring EXs more in line with the rest of the characters, so I'm going to move him down into B. Again, can definitely make use out of it, just maybe not in a solo queue environment or this low level environment. Slowbro got a HP reduction and a cooldown reduction, which mean absolutely nothing. The whole thing of Slowbro's kit is that his Unite move is great, his Water Gun Secure is great, Amnesia makes him really bulky, Scold kills off physical attackers. It's in general just an amazing support and defender in one. And so, again, if you want to learn either of these defenders, then I've made videos on my channel that I'll link at the end of this video. Once you're done watching this one, go and watch them. It'll help you a lot. And then some other changes that I'd like to make since my last tier list. I'm going to go ahead and move Charizard up to A+. The value that you can get out of a Charizard is honestly underrated. Fire Punch and Flare Blitz is a good build. Flamethrower and Fire Blast is a good build. The Unite move now being unable to be cancelled or like stopped is great. Overall, just a pretty great Pokemon, and I'm glad they buffed him. Just waiting for Lapras and Machamp, and also Wigglytuff, and also Wigglytuff. Others that I like to move around are Zeraora, which I'm going to move up to the A tier. Obviously, there could be better options, but I feel like Zeraora is killing it right now. It's honestly a very underrated pick for these lower levels of the game. If you know what you're doing, which means don't run leftovers, don't run XP share, don't run assault vest, use the correct items, go in the central area, do your job, and you will thrive. Another one that I'd like to knock down a peg is unfortunately Tyranitar, which I'm going to move down to the A+ tier. Still a really great Pokemon, just not quite the complete carry potential that it did have 2 patches ago, or 3 patches ago, depending on how you really looked at it. It's still an amazing Pokemon for solo queue, and if you can get that central area, do not play in the lane. Just don't play it in the lane. If you can get that central area, and you've got the right items, you know what you're doing, again, you'll do great. Which means the only Pokemon in the S tier are defenders and supporters, which say a lot about how you should play the game. Just remember, having a team of all these guys will completely fail if the enemy team has just the same comp with even just one of these. You need a defender on your team. If you want to rank up, you have to be that guy that picks the defender. I know sometimes it's not that fun, but if you want to rank up, it will be very easy if you just play the supporter role. By that, I'm lumping in defender and supporter in one. They both sort of just defend their team and help the team rather than just themselves. So if you want to succeed, obviously watch the guides of my Pokemon. Self-promo, I don't care. Pick a defender, please. It will help your team a lot. But also, of course, pick what you want. I'm not going to control you, but I'm just recommending that if you want to win in this game, I'm just waffling. So if you want to rank up in this game, take one for the team, pick that defender, and you'll absolutely kill it. That's going to be it for today's tier list. If you want to play either of these defenders, I've got guides on my channel that are on screen now.